Tara Granahan on News Talk 99.7 FM and AM 630 WPRO.
The Rhode Island Republicans, yes, they say we may be small, but we are mighty. We have two leaders in studio, and you can ask them anything you want on this Valentine's Day on the Tara Granahan Show.
So we've fallen behind. Frozen means you're scheduled to go home, and they call you up and say, we're short, we need you to stay another shift.
And you can't leave.
You can't leave.
We can work it out. We can work it out.
Things like tolls in a very, very difficult business climate were factors in them saying we've had enough. We're gonna cash our chips in and run to the buffet.
They want to train the students while they're still in school at CCRI, so that the students are ready for a job right when they graduate.
I was very afraid. In being blind and being terminally ill, I was fearing for my life.
At what point do you say stop? Do you wait for a couple of patients to get hurt, maybe die, and then we do something about it?
We can work it out. We can work it out.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to try to work it out. Welcome into the program. It is 9:08 on this Thursday. Hey, happy Valentine's Day to everyone. I'll write with a red pen. I have a red shirt on, and I've got two guests in studio, and we are ready to work it out. And we've got Representative House Minority Leader Blake Filippi, and we also have Representative Mike Chippendale. Let's say good morning. Make sure everything is working fine and dandy on this Thursday. Good morning, folks.
Good morning and happy Valentine's Day, Rhode Island.
Good morning, Blake Filippi.
Might I just say that you both have a voice for radio?
My mom used to say I have a face for radio, so I don't know if that works.
And mine still does. All right, here we go. We have a lot of voices in Rhode Island. You just heard a lot of topics in 30 seconds in our what we call our open, and we have a lot to discuss. I want to jump right in. We'll talk about the future of the Republican Party. It is always a challenge. It has always been a challenge, so nobody needs to get all up in arms. But let's face it, we've got a very strong Democratic Party. We've got a huge push from the progressive part of the Democratic Party. And then we've got a changeover, sort of, in the Republican Party. We went through it all in the elections. Joe Trillo, what a voice, what a face of the Republican Party, no longer really participating, right, in local politics. That's fine. In fact, we haven't heard from him at all, really, since the election, and I hope he's having a nice break. Representative Patricia Morgan was a very loud, vocal voice for the Republican Party. She, too, had a situation where she didn't back the Republican. There was a little bit of a split divide. So let's just catch people up. Representative Blake Filippi, you now have that role at the State House that was held by Representative Patricia Morgan. So I will say she was pretty much always accessible, any topic, and was digging in. Now you kind of take this baton for the Republicans. How is it being crafted? What's different?
So I think when people look at parties, sometimes they see it as individuals. I think we need to view parties as a modality to advance principles and ideas. And I think we're going to continue to advance the causes of individual liberty and small government and fidelity to taxpayers. And I think advancing those principles is greater than any individual who's involved in politics. So,
and that's a challenge because people in Rhode Island, it's very different. You're going to see the governor at Sand Hill Cove over the summer, right, with the kids. You're going to see your state rep at church or at Temple. You're going to see the lieutenant governor, whatever, pumping gas. I used to run into Lincoln Chafee all the time in that corner, or the airport car wash on Airport Road, right, his own little Jeep. If you go to Chicago or whatever, you live in Pennsylvania, probably even Massachusetts, it's not that tight and connected. So when you say let's get rid of the personalities and work cohesively as more of a party with the initiatives, it's a little bit hard to do, don't you think? People know you when you walk down the street.
And I think that is the challenge, because we are so familiar with, it's Rhode Island. We bump into everyone, as you just pointed out. But we are individuals. We have our mission, our goals, the things that we want to accomplish. And sometimes personalities get in the way, but the best course is to focus on where you're trying to steer your ship. And as policymakers, our responsibility is to try to steer the ship of Rhode Island in the right direction. As members of our party, we have to complement the work we do in the assembly by creating a party that can help support that mission.
And let me ask you this, Representative Mike Chippendale, Representative Blake Filippi, both in studio with me, at least for an hour. We might super glue them right to their chairs. You said steer the ship. How would you describe where the ship of Rhode Island is going right now with the progressive bills up there? A lot of talk and a lot of heated discussion, say, about the abortion bills, women's rights bills. You've got this infighting up at the State House within the Democratic Party. There is definitely a power struggle going on that we have not seen with the Democrats, right? The progressives versus maybe you could say the old school, more conservative Democrats, right? Under Speaker Mattiello. Wanting to legalize everything, legalize marijuana, decriminalize prostitution. Let's change the abortion bills to make it even later, I believe is what they're trying to say. Depends on what spin you take. How do you feel where we are going? What path are we going in?
Well, I think first it's important to point out that it's always good to have a diversity of ideas. So whether that comes from the far left, far right, or wherever on the spectrum people put themselves, the more ideas that are put out there, the better equipped we are to see the possibilities. And I welcome that. I may not agree with it. And as you pointed out on just about every one of those issues, I don't. But that's irrelevant. We still need to work on moving that forward. The institutional Democrats, which, are the ones that have been in control of the State House for however many, 80-something years, they do what they believe is right for the state. We do what we believe is right for the state as Republicans, and sometimes those two things are different. And that allows us, as the voice of the opposition, to offer an alternative view and an alternative option. And sometimes that helps form where policy goes in the House, even with just a small number of Republicans.
Right. Here's one of the situations that I think that people that are listening right now and they say, well, we don't have a very big Republican Party, and they can throw you the criticism, and I know you're doing the best that you can with what we have to work with. But I don't know if people understand. A lot of times we'll say it too. Call your rep, call your state senator, call your state rep. The phone call will get it done. The phone call will get it done. Well, at least it gets attention, right? Because we can scream here all we want, but it does get attention at a different level. I want to take first off the story that I can't even believe it's going to be almost a week when we heard, well, it is a week because last Thursday night, and you're both on the oversight committee, right? So you were there, and you both heard Representative Chippendale, Representative Filippi, the testimony. It was living another nightmare. It was a recurring nightmare, if you will, about UHIP. Now it's MTM. Here we go. MTM is the transportation company that was hired. They won the bid out of the contracts, $15 million contract over 3 years. It's not working. Here's the latest story, if you will. Channel 12. It's unbelievable. I listened to it 3 times, and I was sick to my stomach driving in because I listened to it again just so I wouldn't forget this guy. He was on with Channel 12, Susan Campbell. This is one victim out of apparently, and I have no idea because we've heard not one word from the governor on this. Nothing. No one wants to talk to her. No one puts a mic in her face. They will not answer emails, tweets, nothing from me. When is the press conference? 1,300 complaints last Thursday night. God knows how many more. It's been a week as of tonight. This is the latest from Channel 12, Susan Campbell.
All I can say is I'm sorry.
About the same time, MTM CEO was testifying in front of the House Oversight Committee last Thursday. Raymond Bryson was settling in for an unexpected overnight stay in Boston.
I was very afraid. Being blind and being terminally ill, I was fearing for my life.
Earlier in the day, MTM picked up Raymond for a 2:15 doctor's appointment in Boston, but his return ride was a no-show. Raymond says he spent hours on the phone with MTM trying to figure out how to get home.
They just gave me all kinds of different reasons. You got a Lyft driver, you got an Uber driver, you got an independent taxi, you have a van coming to pick you up, and I just waited and waited and waited, and my phone died.
Then his doctor's office closed, and Raymond was forced to find somewhere else to wait. He says he ended up in a hospital ER waiting room.
I walked back, and I stayed there all night.
We first told you about issues with MTM last month, just days after it launched service in Rhode Island. Now we've obtained the company's corrective action plan. It acknowledges an unacceptable volume of missed trips. It also reveals MTM way underestimated the number of employees it would need in its call center to field an average 1,800 calls a day. We had estimated the staffing need to be 25. Current need is approximately 60, the report says. According to its plan, MTM is making several changes, including a hiring blitz of dozens of employees, retraining existing employees, and improving the collection of real-time GPS data from transportation providers. In a statement, MTM said it's working closely with the state on the changes. Quote, "We are in constant contact, have daily update phone calls, and are working 24/7 to address issues as they arise. We have seen improvement every day and are committed to delivering the high-quality service that Rhode Islanders deserve." MTM's 3.5-year contract with the state is worth up to $115 million. I'm Susan Campbell, Eyewitness News.
All right, so they have a plan. Yeah, it's like Dumb and Dumber, right? So you think there's a chance. So they have a plan. It is not working. Why are we not busting up the contract? They obviously did not fulfill their commitment. I don't know if we can. I think people are saying, what are we waiting for? Someone to die? I'm going to turn it over to Representative Blake Filippi as well as Representative Mike Chippendale. They are both in studio with me in this hour. Rep. Filippi, I know you sat there and listened to multiple stories. The person from the company flies in. They're not from Rhode Island. She's like, I'm doing everything I can. This is deja vu all over again. You hip.
I agree. I think it shows we need to do a better job of managing our contracts. Clearly, they weren't prepared. Clearly, there wasn't enough planning before they went live. And there needs to be, I think, a better management of our contracts within the executive branch to ensure that once this contract was signed, they did everything they had to do by January 1st, go live to hit the ground running. I mean, that clearly wasn't.
That's A, right? That's A. We suck at contracts. Excuse my language. But really, I mean, it's not the first time. It's not the second time. It's not the third time. We can't roll out a program for some reason. So administratively, we have major issues. You guys, the state reps, the state senators really can't control that. But when your constituents are calling you, and I know you've had them, Representative Chippendale, you were one of the first ones that said, oh, my goodness, you're out in Foster, Gloucester, Boroughville. Not an easy way to get around. It's not like you can walk down Main Ave in East Greenwich. Well, they didn't pick me up, so I can walk a couple blocks because there's a doctor's office on 10 Rod Road.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the same thing here.
No, that's certainly a challenge in my district because we don't have buses. RIPTA buses don't come up there, so that adds to the issue of getting from point A to point B. When this corrective action plan that we heard in the last soundbite was referenced by Susan Campbell, we got a copy of that as well, and it's a 30 or 50 page document. I got most of the way through it, but it is just filled with reminiscing of UHIP from my perspective.
It's unbelievable.
Right, you know that. I was very involved with that at the beginning. I did take the hiatus off of oversight, but I'm back on this, and I am having deja vu all over again. Their corrective action plan, on the very first page, MTM says the state has given them a grace period to get their GPS system working. Okay, the most fundamental part of a transportation organization, GPS, which every guy and gal with a cell phone has. So we are giving them till 4/1 of 2019 to figure out how to use their GPS. That's on page 1 of the corrective action plan. When I was sitting
4/1, April 1st.
April 1st,
no joke.
just to get your GPS working.
But that's another month and then some away.
Absolutely.
And every day we're getting dozens of stories.
And Tara, we get, when we're in committee, if it's televised, we'll often get texts from folks who are interested. I was literally getting text messages from people in my district about issues, and when I got out of the committee, there were messages on my phone, and I've been compiling them all. We all have. We've been sending them to the Oversight Committee. It just hasn't stopped yet.
Shouldn't they be fired?
Who's going to pick up the slack? That's the problem, is that they are the operator right now.
Right.
If we fire them, who is going to start driving tomorrow? There's sick people who need to get.
So the people that are actually getting a ride need, you'd leave them out too.
Yeah, I think that you were almost held over a barrel in a way.
Yes.
But by their, frankly, incompetence, because who are we going to?
But see, this is what we did for years, right, with UHIP. So, Deloitte. Now we've got MTM. So you've got an April 1st. I thought it was 3 weeks with Representative Patricia Serpa. Those are two different dates?
Well, we've given them 3 weeks to give us a very clear and concise way of getting out of this. If these are the types of dates that they're putting and benchmarks they're putting in their plan, I don't know if that's necessarily going to fly.
And with contractual management, what should have happened is that these benchmarks should have been managed before go live. There should be a series of benchmarks before they start operating.
And they had 3 months because they had October, November, December of last year.
So in the contract, it should say, okay, so they went live January 1st. There should have been a date. Okay, on December 1st, you need to show us that your GPS system is working. All of these things that go into an effective transportation system should have been prerequisites to go live, with proper management and oversight by the executive branch to ensure that all the boxes were checked before January 1st.
Guess what we were doing in October and November? Trying to figure out how to get them a ride to the polls.
Yes, we
I'm not
amazingly,
kidding.
it worked well.
Didn't it work out
It
really
worked
well?
out
And now
like
that
a
we got them to
fine
the
oiled
polls
machine.
and we all got back in, we don't really give a hoot. All right, we're going to take a quick break right here. I have Representative Blake Filippi, Representative Mike Chippendale in studio. I think they're going to stay as long as we can. We've got phone calls coming in. They'll answer your questions from the Rhode Island GOP, the Rhode Island Republican Party. 438-9776.
This is the Tara Granahan Show. News Talk 630 and 99.7 FM. WPRO.
9:27 on this Thursday. We have in studio, you can ask the Republican Party anything you want. Well, within reason. It is Valentine's Day. Representative Blake Filippi, Representative Mike Chippendale, and we do have an awful lot of people that want to talk to you. So I'm going to go right to the phones, and I thank them for holding. Lou is in Lincoln. Good morning, Lou.
Good morning. Happy Valentine's Day, Tara.
Happy to you, too.
Two quick things. I'm concerned about the sports betting going mobile without going before the voters. And the other question is, I am so distraught, and I hate to bring this up on Valentine's Day. I'm just so distraught that for 30 years I've been used to getting money back and getting, I'm on the road, I'm in sales, and I get a W-2 for my business. And with them changing this whole tax thing, everybody's thinking they're going to get these tax cuts and taking away business expenses and mileage and all the things.
Are you talking about the state level or your federal taxes or your state taxes? Well, we will talk about that as the old April 15th date looms. But let's take your first question, Lou. And Representative Chippendale, Representative Filippi are here, and you are talking about, well, whichever one of you wants to handle it. I'm going to put him on hold so he can definitely hear because we've got 3 mics going.
So I think the question is about sports betting in general or online sports betting?
Online, he said mobile.
So I think there is a question as to whether the prior voter approvals for Tiverton and Lincoln, whether that extends to statewide gambling, because I could pick up my phone in Charlestown and place a bet. I think there is an open constitutional question as to whether it's legal to have online sports betting off-site.
Because Tiverton and Lincoln, those areas voted, is what you're saying. So now you can, if this goes through, and this is a big, this is a big thing for Senate President Dominic Ruggiero. He wants it's going fast and hard. Some things just don't go anywhere, and this one's going fast and hard. And we are running up against 9:30. But you're saying because the local towns voted to have the casinos there.
So our Constitution requires that any expansion in the type or location of gambling has to be approved both statewide and within the municipality where it happens. So statewide and the municipalities of Tiverton and Lincoln have approved those specific locations. So there's a question out there as to whether, even though the servers are in Tiverton and Lincoln and you have to download the app in Tiverton and Lincoln, whether someone is able to legally place a bet off-site on their phone. And that is a big open question that I think this legislation
there's also a question about whether or not it's even legal for us to expand into sports gambling as an expansion of gambling. We've been working on a bill just to try to get an advisory opinion from the courts. Is this an expansion of gambling, and should we anticipate problems going forward?
All right, we're going to pick this up after the 9:30 break because I think a lot of people like to do it. A lot of people want to know more about it, and they have a lot of questions. Thank you, Lou. We'll come back. Our Republican leaders in studio.
I think it'll be more convenient for them. I would assume that they'll use some kind of identification. I'd like to see it pass quickly. This way they can start implementing it, and hopefully we can generate some revenue this year, in this fiscal year, to help offset some of the revenue that we thought was coming in that we won't be getting. They want people to register up there, so number one, they can see how old the person is, and that's the person's not underage. I would assume that they'll use some kind of identification to show a person's age if it's questionable. I think the on-person registering is probably the way to go.
We are gung-ho to bet on betting from home, from the couch, from the car, from your phone, from your Apple iWatch. That's Senate President Dominic Ruggiero. And in studio, we have our two Republican leaders, Representative Blake Filippi and Representative Mike Chippendale. Now, the first phone call that came in right off the bat was, I'm concerned about the mobile sports betting, and we can get into a lot of legalese here, but you are talking about sending money, wiring money somewhere, somehow, and you've got to talk about the locale, what's legal, and you said, Representative Mike Chippendale, that you have put in a bill to even just clarify what we can and can't do, what's legal?
Seeking an advisory opinion. I don't know if we've submitted it yet. We were working on something, seeking to ask the courts, is this even legal? Should we proceed? Whether or not we put it in is a whole other question, but that is the crux of the issue. If it's deemed that this is an expansion of gambling and therefore illegal, what happens then? Everything stops in its tracks.
All right, and then one more time, Representative Blake Filippi, for those people that were just kind of tuning in, we hit the break, and the question was, he's concerned, what for what? Can I get caught up in it, or what do you think is going to be the biggest obstacle?
So I think the biggest obstacle is our constitutional requirement that any expansion of the type or location of gambling needs to be approved both statewide and in the locality where it happens. I mean, that really is, I think, the biggest legal obstacle. And it may make sense to have the Supreme Court give us an advisory opinion before we build our budget around this.
Well, let me ask you that. How do you feel about building a budget around things that just haven't happened or may hit a legal wall, which would be a la sports betting, legalizing marijuana? There's all this money tucked in there, and it could very easily fail or get jammed up for 2 years.
Yeah, that's extremely important right there. I mean, we're short on revenues, and we're seeking any way we can to bring revenues in. We have to do it a little bit more carefully. We have to think it through a little bit more. We can't just be in a rush to grab money everywhere we can, and I think that's what we're seeing here.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Tara, back, I think in 2003, we passed the Casino Act, and in 2004, Governor Kucheri sought an advisory opinion, and the Supreme Court was able to get that advisory opinion back, I think, in about 3 weeks. So maybe the proper thing to do in this instance is to seek that advisory opinion as we're building our budget, and we'll know probably within a month. It's not going to cost us anything. The judges are there. They're already paid. It's easy to draft a question. It might be the smart thing for the state to do is to seek that advisory opinion, and that advisory opinion can be sought by 3 entities: the governor, the House, or the Senate. Anyone can seek it.
And we say that as Republicans not because we're trying to be contrarian and not because we're opposed to this effort to raise revenues through gambling per se. We're saying it because it's the right way to do it. The question of whether or not gambling is the way to go is another question, but let's at least execute this the right way. We're looking at a budget right now from the governor that has marijuana revenues anticipated in it. And from where I'm sitting, I don't see that happening this year. I don't see it becoming legal. I just don't see it working.
2.5 years to even get the shops open.
So
how do you build a budget on a foundation that's made out of Play-Doh?
Exactly.
I don't get it at all. I mean, I don't even know how it's allowed. All right, let's go to the phones. 438-9776. 1-800-321-WPRO. It's 9:40 on this Thursday morning. And in studio, we have from the Republican Party here in Rhode Island, Representative Chippendale and Representative Filippi. Jeff's in North Providence. We touched on this, and I'm going to talk about this a lot this morning. Good morning, Jeff in North Providence.
Good morning. Just a comment about this MTM deal. I'm a Rhode Island company, paying Rhode Island taxes, hiring Rhode Islanders.
Are you in that business?
I have buses available, drivers available, all proper insurances. I am in business now. I have contacted this company last week, and I have not heard one word from them. Not one. And you have blind people not getting picked up?
All night. How about the lady that called in her 70s? She got there. They dropped her off, never came back. She had a broken ankle. That's what she went to the doctor's for. And she had to walk home.
Where is the leadership?
Where's the governor?
Where is our governor? Where is she?
I've asked every single day since last Friday. I have asked her new spokesperson, who, shame on her, she won't even return an email, a tweet, nothing. Jennifer Bogdan used to write about this stuff with the Providence Journal, by the way, was busting out on the UHIP problems, emergency. This is, to me, and I'll say it, and you don't have to back me up on it. I don't mind. This is elder abuse. If you left your mother or your father or anybody over, 65, outside for a half hour, and your neighbor said, what in the holy hell is that lady doing outside in the cold, walking with a broken ankle, you'd be put up on charges, and I don't care who you are.
If you left a cat outside.
Yeah, now you're going to jail.
Thank you.
If it's the cat.
Thank you, Blake.
Yeah, if it's the cat, God forbid, because you're probably going to get tied to a tree and set on fire in this state.
But, it's interesting. This caller brings up a great point. I ran into a contractor yesterday, and he was telling me, look, we spent almost $300,000 getting all of our cars and vehicles updated, equipped. We're already on the vendor list for Logisticare, which was given over to MTM,
right.
And we haven't gotten one phone call yet. And meanwhile, MTM's calling Lyft, Uber, Alert, all of these other places.
And they're not even showing up.
And they're not showing up.
So I don't know what is going on. This is like Keystone Cops. Jeff in North Providence, I'm going to put you on hold. If you can give your information, please, to Nick Flanagan, my producer. I would love that, Nick. I know it's a busy morning here. But I'm going to call Jeff back, and I'm going to have him on because we need to dig into this.
I believe he asked, where is the leadership on this? You're seeing leadership from the House of Representatives Oversight Committee, Republicans and Democrats alike. Patricia Serper's doing a heck of a job as the chairperson. We are showing the state the problems. To fix this, it has to come from the governor's office. What we can do is shine a light on it, as you are, Tara, and other media are shining a light on it. But our role is to expose the problem, and we hope the governor will respond and demand action.
Well, I don't want to be a jerk, but why she went on? She had a press conference. Now, granted, it was the big snowstorm that we had. Okay, so weather comes first. Totally understand it. That's how we do business. What affects everybody? Get there, show the weather, etc. But she had a press conference for Infosys, and that's a company coming, and we're going to give them lovely tax breaks, and we'll talk about that later. But I don't think anybody asked her. I begged everybody. Did anybody ask her about what are we doing here? This is a crazy emergency, but we don't want to. We don't want to. I don't know what it is with this governor. She will not come forward. Her people. Now, there's been a little bit of a shift over in the guard for the governor as far as communications people go, but we're going to have the same thing for the next 4 years. This particular situation cannot go the way UHIP went. We can't wait. This is elder abuse, in my opinion, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being dramatic. It's elder abuse.
I think it meets the legal definition.
I don't understand it. You have a commitment. We have two companies. You're telling me about one. And he just called in, Jeff just said, I've got buses, I've got fleets. They're failing every single 10 minutes. And now we're into an entire week. 438-9776. Leon is in Coventry. This one makes me nuts. Hi, Leon.
Good morning. Good morning, Representatives.
Good morning.
Morning.
There's some little misconceptions because I drive for Lyft, and I've took a lot of Logisticare rides, and a lot of the ones for MTN, we show up. And the people are happy. If you ask them, they're happy when the Lyft drivers come because, one, we're professional. We show up on time. We're there early. We wait for them. Even this morning, I took a young lady to her methadone clinic. And usually they're only in there 2 or 3 minutes. And I said, well, I can wait for you and take you back. It's just you have to add a second stop. Rather than her waiting an hour for somebody to come pick her up. That's the problem. Is the methadone clinics is a big problem because, like I said, I've done it for like 6 months when they've been using Lyft. I picked up people in Newport who went to a methadone clinic in Providence when there's one in Middletown.
Understood. And listen, Leon, and everybody appreciates hearing from you. We've had Lyft drivers and we've had Uber drivers call into the program saying, I'll take them anywhere you want to go. The problem is, Leon, thank you. The problem is, and both representatives, Filippi and Chippendale, have been hearing this from their own constituents, is that the company isn't necessarily communicating with the driving services. I mean, first of all, they're responsible. They're cashing the $50 million check every year. They're not even there yet, but they're going to get paid about $115 million in total if they don't get fired beforehand. But that's what they're set to do.
And the Lyft Uber model works in the market it serves, but when you have populations that require drivers with medical training, some of them it's basic medical training, some of them you have non-ambulatory patients, you have patients with developmental disabilities. That requires certification, specialization that's recognized by the state and by the company. So you can't just transport everyone in a Lyft or Uber. I think, if we did, then it might work a little better, but they don't have ambulances.
But you have a great point here, too. These are older people. Obviously, these are the elderly. They're compromised in some kind of situation medically, or they wouldn't be going to the doctors. I mean, maybe they're going to get a checkup. But you can't just, it's not like you're grabbing a couple of 25-year-olds and throw them in the back of the Uber. Sometimes they need help getting off over the snowbank, over the pothole, the curb that's falling off. The medical service transportation company is supposed to be able to handle that. I would hope they're not just hiring people that throw you in the back of the bus.
I would hope not.
I would hope not, but who knows? All right, we're going to take a break right here. 4389776. In studio, my guest, Representative Mike Chippendale, Representative Blake Filippi. They are the two Republican leaders up at the State House, and you can ask them anything. We're going to continue our conversation. 4389776.
Rhode Island born and bred. Tara Granahan, News Talk 630 and 99.7 FM, WPRO.
Welcome back, 9:52 in studio. Representative Blake Filippi, Representative Mike Chippendale, both representing the Rhode Island Republican Party. We're going to take your phone calls, 438-9776, 438-WPRO. I think it's really important that we try to cover all the topics. I know certain, you get press releases. Actually, we get a lot of press releases from the different chambers, right? The state Senate, the House of Representatives. But a lot of times, and I think it was you, Representative Blake Filippi, that said, we've got to get our voices out more. People that want to call in, fine. But if you want to get involved, too, I would think, someone says, you know what, enough is enough. We've got almost a $10 billion budget. What are we doing here? Maybe someone's retired. They have time. They're up on the issues. They've got some expertise. We mentioned, does anybody in the state know contract law? Because that would be nice. Can you call the governor's office and say, what the hell are you doing with all these contracts? You roll them out. You sign on the dotted line. You promise them $100 million, and they can't deliver. So if someone's out there, right now thinking, I listen to these guys. They're smart guys. You also have full-time jobs, or you have families. It's one of those things. It's a part-time legislature. How would someone, in any party, I don't care if you're the moderate party is no longer the Green Party. I have no idea. But, quite frankly, it's the Republicans, the Independents, and the Democrats. Just speaking for the Republicans, Blake Filippi, what would someone do?
To get involved?
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to get involved. You call your state representative. You'll be amazed at how effective that is. You can come to the State House and testify. You can support candidates who you agree with. Or you can run for office yourself. It's not that expensive. If you've got the drive, you can do it and win. We each represent about 14,000 people, and if you've got a summer, you can knock on every door. And if you can knock on every door, there's a substantial chance you can win. So there's so many different ways to get involved. Just pick up the phone. If you're interested in running for office, email Mike or myself. Our email addresses are published online.
The story that is not going to go away if I have anything to do with it, and I would just hope, I don't understand it, but I would hope that someone in the governor's office says, listen, we've got to get out in front of this. We're coming up on a week. It's the failing medical ride service known as MTM. Marie is in Warwick wanting to speak with our reps. Hi, Marie.
I am in Warren, actually.
That's what we said, but you go right ahead. Warren.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, I'm the one with the broken ankle, etc.
All right, Marie, so
Hey,
speak
Marie.
really loudly into your phone if you can so we can hear you, okay? Tell the reps what happened to you.
Okay, thank you. Now, shall I speak now?
Yes.
Okay, here I am. Can you hear me better?
Yes, go right ahead.
All right. I have a ride scheduled for tomorrow. Let's see if they show up. I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. How's your ankle?
Oh, it's not formed properly. It's ruined because I did walk on it. I shouldn't have. But no.
How
This
far
was
is your doctor's office from where you live, Marie?
I'd say that doctor that I saw was probably a quarter of a mile. It wasn't that bad, but I wasn't supposed to walk on it.
And you waited for the ride service to come, MTM. They did not come, and you thought, well,
No. Yes, but it was logistic. I just realized that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But
all right.
But wait. Remember I told you that was the worst one?
That was the worst one.
Right. MTM has left me with never showing up or showing up an hour later. And I had already called to cancel, so I didn't even have an appointment anymore. because they didn't show up. This has happened a couple of times to me and my friends.
Understood.
So,
Understood. Well, thank you, Marie. I appreciate you calling in. The Logisticare, just so people know, was the contracted company after RIPTA. So people say, "What? Well, I thought these people got, the elderly people got picked up by RIPTA." For years, it was RIPTA. For all testimonials that we can come up with, it seemed to go pretty well with RIPTA. It switched over to a private contract. That's Logisticare that Marie was talking about. That only lasted a couple of years. They had some issues, but nothing, it seems, compared to what we're having with the new company, MTM. And I said last week, and I'll say it again, there were 6 bids, I believe, correct?
If I recall, there were
Six
around
bids.
6
Two,
bids.
two supposedly that I heard from Representative Patricia Serpa were in state.
Rhode Island
They went with the out-of-state company, and I did a little research, and they are applauded and rewarded and awarded for being a women-run company, which falls into the agenda of Governor Gina Raimondo. So she goes with them. They don't have any idea what they're doing. And what was the line that they repeatedly said at the Oversight Committee last Thursday night? Rhode Island is so unique, we're just having a hard time getting around? How the hell? I mean, it's not Alaska. I've been there. That's tough to get around. It's not like an alligator-laden moats around the State House.
Yeah, no, I live on the Connecticut border, exactly on the other side of the state from where we are right now, and it took me 25 minutes to get here. Okay, so it's not that big of a deal.
The only thing that's unique about us is we probably have more potholes.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I can understand that. But to not have a working GPS system, to not have some kind of a communication hookup with GPS, this seems, I don't know anything about that business, but to me that seems like, okay, step number 1, the driver should have GPS. I wouldn't go to an appointment without GPS if it were 15 minutes away. I don't know where are you going to end up.
I can say this in private industry. When I was moving trucks in my company, we had software that routed the trucks where they went, where they had to go first, based on efficiency, traffic, all of those things. And this was in the early 2000s. They had that software then. I don't want to hear anything from MTM about them not being able to find where they're supposed to be and when they're supposed to be there.
All right. And suppose Rhode Island is unique. A professional would come in and determine what those uniquenesses are before the contract starts and design their operations to take into account what they have to do differently to do a good job.
Which allegedly is what they did for the first 3 months. They said, give us 3 months, October, November, December.
Well, they didn't do their due diligence when they should have.
All right, we're going to take a break. Coming up on the 10 o'clock hour, we're going to have your headlines from Bill Haberman. We've got a lot more to talk about. Guests in studio, Representative Chippendale, Representative Filippi, how to build a Republican Party, legalization of pot and prostitution. We're banking on that. Not a good idea. And free college tuition. Do the Republicans want to keep expanding and expanding? We've got a lot to talk about right here on the Tara Granahan Show.
Tara Granahan on News Talk 99.7 FM and AM 630 WPRO.
We're getting the Republican point of view. 2 guests in studio. Should we legalize marijuana, legalize prostitution, legalize gambling? Oh, wait, we've already balanced the budget on some of that. We'll discuss this hour on the Tara Granahan Show.
You didn't run a class for a number of years, so we've fallen behind. Frozen means you're scheduled to go home, and they call you up and say, we're short, we need you to stay another shift.
And you can't leave.
You can't leave.
We can work it out. We can work it out.
Things like tolls in a very, very difficult business climate were factors in them saying we've had enough. We're gonna cash our chips in and run to the buffet.
They want to train the students while they're still in school at CCRI, so then the students are ready for a job right when they graduate.
I was very afraid. In being blind and being terminally ill, I was fearing for my life.
At what point do you say stop? Do you wait for a couple of patients to get hurt, maybe die, and then we do something about it?
All right, those voices, a couple of folks that never got picked up by the embattled medical ride program that we're now in. That's today's emergency. Hoping to hear from the governor's office, not holding my breath. But a variety of topics, as you just heard there, expanding college free tuition, legalizing marijuana. What do we do with the prostitutes? I don't know. We're talking to 2 leaders in the Republican Party, Representative Blake Filippi and Representative Mike Chippendale, in studio with me on this Thursday. Real quickly, Representative Chippendale wanted to add it to, if you're just joining us, it's 10:08. We've got our guests in studio. We're going to run down a bunch of topics, and you can call into 438-9776. Rep Chippendale.
Yeah, Leader Filippi was talking earlier about how to get involved with the Republican Party, and there are so many ways to do it, or get involved with politics in general. Just one of my biggest supporters and the strongest Republicans in the state, her name is Sandra Reed. She just reached out on a phone call, and she became one of the strongest Republicans in the state of Rhode Island because of that.
All right, there you go. So you listen, I'll give the website out, too, because I think this is important when people say, I don't know where to go. I don't know who to call. I don't know who my rep is. This is where we have to start digging our heels in. First of all, you have to know who's representing you, what state reps, which state senator. And so there is a great website, and I will give credit to it says the State of Rhode Island General Assembly. There's your list of representatives, your list of senators, what commissions they're on, what the legislation is all about, what's pending. They've got some press releases on there, Capital TV link if you like to, you lose you lose your cable in a storm and you want to catch up on things. You can watch some of the testimony. It is very important because that's where I'm obviously addicted slightly to the Oversight Committee because that's where some meat comes out and the problems come out. Now, what we do with it and how we help them, I don't know. Specifically, today's problem, this week's problem emergency is that RIDE system. So that website is RI for Rhode Island, LIN, L as in Lisa, RILIN.state.ri.us. Guess what? All you have to do in your little space bar is put in RILIN. It comes right up. RI, Rhode Island, LIN. Okay? It comes right up. That's where you start. Find out who you need to call, as you said Sandra did. 438-9776. All right, let me quickly jump in and talk about I'm going to talk a lot about the medical ride service. So if you have something to add to that, by all means, hang on the line. However, Fred has been holding on in Warwick. I think he wants to talk Second Amendment stuff. Hi, Fred.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Tara.
Hi there. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Filippi and Mr. Chippendale.
Good morning, Fred.
We appreciate all your work. We really do.
Thank you.
Gina Raimondo is, obviously, she's far less progressive. I don't think she went any further. I don't think she could go any further, in my opinion.
Well, not according to the New York Times. She's a centrist, and they're hard to find.
Well, the New York Times, come on. Consider the source. Anyway, make a long story short of what I want to get to.
That's okay.
She comes up with this gun control business based on parkland, based on school safety, based on public safety. It's a bunk. It's nonsense. It's progressive socialism at its worst, and all is just throwing people's rights under the bus. For what reason? Just to gain popularity, just to gain votes, supposedly, and it's all misinformed. I mean, look how many gun owners there are and Second Amendment supporters there are in this state.
All right, let's let the state reps answer to that. I don't know if you have differing opinions, and we would love to. Fred, hold on so you can hear. You could have differing opinions on this, Rep Chippendale, Rep Filippi. So, and also we're going to get to the medical marijuana versus the recreational marijuana. What could be legalized. Those are two big ones that we're going to talk about right now. 438-9776. Who wants to kick?
So thank you, Fred, for the question. Whenever we're dealing with issues like this, public safety issues that are clearly impacting not just us in Rhode Island, but across the nation, this is something that we as policymakers have to do responsibly. We have to balance our constitutional rights with the ability to ensure that people are safe, people are able to live their lives without fear. Unfortunately, some policymakers try to use these types of unfortunate incidents to further previously held political positions, and that's not helpful to the process. We do need people to get around the table, regardless of what side of the issue they're on, and relative to the Second Amendment issue, we have failed to get the other side to come to the table and try to talk about real solutions. It's just a lot of positioning, postulating, and pushing agendas, and that's not helpful for anyone.
You want to weigh in on this, Representative Blake Filippi?
I would concur with Rep Chippendale. I think a lot of times tragedies are taken advantage of to advance political ideology. They're always pushing for so-called assault rifle bans, but if you look at the number of killings or shootings in the country, I think assault weapons are used in about 2 to 3%, but that's the cause célèbre because they look scary. So I just think that we have to operate on data. and make decisions based on data, not emotion, especially when we're dealing with our fundamental rights.
Either one of you or anybody from the Republican Party, are there big issues coming up with gun control? Something in the in the pipeline here?
Oh yeah,
there always is. But
yeah, we've seen pretty consistently over the years, over the decades, repeat submissions of gun control legislation, and so far this year it's been no different. We expect that there will be. There's actually been some new ones and sort of creative and also pathetic ones at the same time, but. They'll go through the process. They will be heard on their merits. They'll be judged on their merits. And typically there are no merits in these proposals, so they fail.
All right, we're going to go to, that was Fred. Thank you, Fred. John's in Providence on WPRO. Hi, John.
There are no merits in
Hi,
just turn your radio down so you don't get a little feedback, okay? We've got a lot of mics here. Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Morning, John.
All right, he turned his own off. We'll put you on hold, John. We'll figure it out. I just didn't want it to bleed into you. Isaac is in Gloucester, Rhode Island, Gloucester, Mass.
Gloucester, Rhode Island, OBL 102.
All right.
So are we talking about the legalization of the marijuana and the prostitution and the sports gambling and all that? Is that what we're talking about?
Talk about whatever you want here, but yes, these are all things that are not the prostitution, but legalizing marijuana and legalizing prostitution are padded into the budget, which is a concern for me. But what about you?
My observation is that, about 100 years ago, the government took on organized crime and began putting organized crime out of business. And about 50 years ago, organized crime began buying legitimate businesses to legitimize organized crime. So what we have today is we're getting to the point where organized crime is 100% efficient. And when organized crime is 100% efficient, it simply is government.
So they are efficient? So it's running like a clock? I thought organized crime was kind of going by the wayside.
No longer a crime. I mean, it's just legitimate business.
We'd probably be better off with organized crime than disorganized crime is what we have right now.
Well, I mean, the concept of the deep state, that whole concept, we have, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, all right. Folks?
Well, I think Isaac, who is a constituent of mine, based on where he lives and what road he's on, the point he's trying to make is, we have assailed as a government vices back in the earlier 20th century, and now I think Isaac's point is here we are preempting all of those vices, taking control of them as a state and running them for profit. So I think the point he was trying to make was that we have stopped organized criminals from being engaged in organized crime, and the state has taken over for their own profit.
All right, here we go with Mike in Providence on WPRO. Hi, Mike.
Hi, how are you?
You're speaking with Representatives Filippi and Chippendale.
Hi, Representatives.
How are you?
Thanks for taking time to talk to me, and I appreciate it. I just want to touch on a couple of things real quick. I know your time is limited, so anyways, presently going through taking my kids out of public school and putting them in private school.
In Providence?
No, actually East Providence.
East Providence, okay.
And I already have one in private school. And having had time to sit back and look at what they do every day, I see that one of the choices that they make is what to wear every day in school. And my private school student has no choice. It's just fine. She gets up every day. She knows what she's going to wear.
Right, the uniform.
Right.
Okay.
And my opinion is that puts every kid on an equal plane. They're not so worried about, what others are wearing.
All right, Representative Blake Filippi wants to chime in. You would like what? Uniforms in public schools?
It's half the cost.
All right. All right, let's. I don't know if that's come up recently. I actually love that topic because I did wear a uniform and then I didn't. I did in Catholic school up until the 6th grade, and then you go to public school, and I don't remember it being. I remember everyone having to have like multiple color Levi's and corduroys, but I think I just dated myself. Go ahead, Rep.
So this is something that should be left up to the individual towns. I will say that one of the best parts of this job is we get to have our 4th, 5th, 6th graders come in for mock debates. And one of the topics that we choose is mandatory school uniforms.
Oh.
And the diversity of opinion from our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, it really gives you hope in the future. And one of the things that's so compelling to me is that some stand up and say, the way I express myself is through my clothing, and then others make the same argument that the caller just made. I don't think it's something that we should take on the state level. If a town wants to do it, then they should be able to do it. I just think there's arguments on both sides.
Yeah, I actually like the idea of a uniform because it takes everybody down to a certain. Let's just think about other more important things, and it's less judgmental. But there's always going to be a kid who's got the better sneakers, right? You can wear a uniform, but someone's got better shoes, and then the kids they'll get to an age, and I can't stand the handbag thing. I get it, but I understand what Mike is saying. If that's one of your top priorities, I would think test scores might come into play. Mike, what do we think, Representative Chippendale? I don't know how you attack our public school education system as far as, I just was on the phone with a very, very good friend, one of my best friends. She teaches younger kids, and she said, the test scores are so bad. We had this huge, dive in, break it down, had the meeting. She's in a nice school system. 6 people showed up.
Yeah, we're in a really, really tough spot, and we didn't get here overnight.
Nope.
In regards to K through 12 education, it's happened incrementally, and unfortunately, now that we're at the point where we have these test results that were so widely publicized that put us so far down on the achievement list, that we have decided to make Massachusetts achievements our goal. And frankly, Massachusetts is only at 50% proficiency. So for our state to make that the goal, I think is a little bit short-sighted. And it's as if we're striving for mediocrity. It's just not good. I am a product of public schools. Both of my children are a product of the public schools. And I can tell you without hesitation that the expectations from students have dropped precipitously. When you there are some districts where a child cannot be given a grade less than 50. And essentially all they have to do is show up and put their name on a piece of paper and they get a 50.
And they know it.
And they know that, yes, unfortunately, and they game it. And while that certainly boosts graduation numbers and makes that district look fantastic, what it does is it puts a lot of young people into the workplace and into the college scene completely unprepared to deal with real life. Real life is full of competition. You do get zeros in real life. You do fail in real life. You get fired in real life.
You don't show up for the presentation.
And you don't get trophies every time you just show up to work in real life. So what we're doing is we are grooming generation of kids to expect everything handed to them on a silver platter with little to no effort. And I mean, of course, I'm embellishing and I'm really emphasizing this, but I'll use one example that has really gotten under my craw.
Good tease. One example when we come back from Representative Mike Chippendale, Representative Blake Filippi is also in studio with me on this Thursday morning. Not to mention the head of our education, still on the payroll, but he's looking for another job, and apparently we're going to pay him till he finds a better gig when we come back.
Trusted, credible, the Tara Granahan Show on WPRO.
We come right back to our in-studio guests on this Thursday, and I thank them for their time, Representatives Blake Filippi and Mike Chippendale, and your phone calls, 438-9776, 438-WPRO. I will be diving in hard on the medical ride service known as MTM, which is disastrous and falls into the category of elder abuse, and I cannot get any information, any update out of the governor's office. If you would like to try, here's the number to the governor's office. Again, we did this last week. I know they weren't happy, but you need to voice your concerns. If you have a elderly person, neighbor, parent, loved one, and they're getting dropped off at their doctor's office and not picked up, left overnight, the gentleman interviewed by Channel 12, who was blind and couldn't get home, so he just sat. He walked back to an emergency area and stayed there all night. If you know any situation, the only thing we can do right now is call the governor's office, 222-2080, 222-2080. And I want to get back to the marijuana thing is not going anywhere. Sadly, I think we are probably 5 years behind our neighbors, definitely 2.5, even to get a shop up and running. That's what they said in Massachusetts. Why we would be any quicker on anything, I don't know. I don't want to poo-poo it because for years I said, just listen, people are smoking, they're eating it, they're putting it in the butter and the oil and rubbing it on them. To each his own, I don't care. But if you're getting it somehow and we're not getting any rewards from it, like our neighbors, we might as well, tax it and use it to, pot for potholes is what I said years ago. But now it's been years. What do we think, Mike Chippendale?
Yeah. I think the way that this is being proposed right now is not going to be functional. It's not going to work. And the reason why I say that is because the level of taxation that's being proposed, the amount of regulations that will be put in place on the growers and the retail outlets will be so high that the cost of the end product will become more expensive.
Yep.
And frankly, everyone, no matter what town you live in, you drive down the streets, there is a shop somewhere in your town that sells all the stuff you need to grow marijuana in your own house. So what we will do is just once again create a more robust black market that can sell it cheaper to people, and they're not going to go to the state to buy it. And why are we rushing to compete for this vice money with our neighbors just simply because our neighbors are doing it? I get the argument that, okay, Rhode Islanders are going to go to Mass and spend their money there.
Right.
I understand that. But we're not going to balance our budget on this because I think the problems it'll bring will far outcost whatever benefits the tax revenue may bring in.
All right, and we also have Representative Blake Filippi here, but we got to hit this break at 10:30, so I want to hold people over. Harvey, also about the medical ride service. We'll take your phone call and many more. 438-9776. And I also mentioned, where's that education commissioner that we're paying?
This is the Tara Granahan Show. News Talk 630 and 99.7 FM. WPRO.
All right, we're going to come back. Our in-studio guest right up until 11 o'clock. Don't forget, 11:35. Bublé or the Beach Boys. You're going to sing some karaoke tunes. Well, one tune to win the grand prize. And then that will be your choice. And the second runner-up gets the other pair of tickets. Just in time to go home for Valentine's Day. You swing through, you get your tickets. Hello, honey. You're going to be the hero. All right, 438-9776. That is at 11:35. Right now, I want to pick up where we left off. Representative Blake Filippi and Representative Mike Chippendale, both leaders in the House of Representatives for the Republican Party. We mentioned just before the break legalizing marijuana. Not that you're against it, Representative Mike Chippendale, but you can't see it as being a huge monetary win.
I don't, and I see it impacting industry negatively. I also see law enforcement being presented with a ton of challenges as to how to deal with it in the realm of driving. Right now, there's no reliable test other than a blood test, which can only be compelled through a court order. So it's not like they can do a roadside sobriety or do a breathalyzer on the side of the road. Very challenging for law enforcement.
We seem very far away. We seem very far away from getting it done.
I think we are.
If at all. Representative Blake Filippi, you said you may have a different opinion on this.
I don't necessarily have a different opinion. I kind of have a philosophical way as to how we should look at issues like this. It seems that many times the budget is the main concern, and we're trying to balance our state budget with vice. I think we need to come at this question through notions of personal liberty, and should an individual be able to partake in marijuana if they so choose. I don't think we should be making this decision because of the economics for the state budget. Personally, I think it is an issue of personal choice, and the one caveat is that if you sell to kids, there has to be mandatory jail time. Another issue I have with it is the way that I see the legislation is I think it's going to conglomerate power into a few individuals to distribute marijuana. It's banning home grows, and I just think we need to have the licensing requirement for those who are the distributors tack more to how we do alcohol distribution in this state at our package stores. They really disperse it so not a few individuals can't take over the whole industry.
Understood.
And I just want to make sure we're not rewarding insiders as we go forward with getting rid of this prohibition on marijuana.
Can either one of you think of the last, and this is not a trick question, the last time we cut something out of the budget, or we cut a tax, or we cut a fee, and we're not going to include the beach fees because they go up and down all the time, and it drives. That's the one thing that drives people nuts. We'll talk about that when it gets warmer. Do we ever cut?
I'll tell you, the one thing that stands out to me in my memory as the biggest cut was I think 2013 when we tried to cut state contributions to the pension fund. right after we had just gotten done passing pension reform, which was the only time I ever saw a budget article defeated on the House of Representatives when Gordon Fox was Speaker. Other than that, I can't think of one. Leader, I don't know about you.
Two actually great Republican ideas that we have advocated for years that were actually passed over the past 4 years. A tax cut on your Social Security income. That was a Republican idea for years, and we're happy our Democratic friends pushed that through. And then also a sales tax on the business energy usage. So businesses, propane, et cetera, we eliminated the sales tax on that.
All right, just so people know, we do cut occasionally.
The car tax was a Republican plan for years. We actually put that in as a budget amendment to eliminate the car tax, I think a year before the Speaker pushed it. So there are some examples. I think the Speaker does have some fidelity to the taxpayers, but the problem is overall you just see government budget as a whole grow and grow and grow. And there has to come a point that we say to ourselves, we need to start reining back government. It's almost at $10 billion. I think when I first got in 4 years ago, it was in the low eights.
Yeah, it's insanity. And it never seems to slip backwards. How about giving out the tax breaks to the companies coming in where we are losing almost every single day? Someone sends me a picture of something. Look, it's closed, and it closed immediately, whether it's a restaurant or a boutique or what have you. The small businesses. And then yesterday, or rather Tuesday, Infosys is a company, and I hope they're great, and they're going to hook up with CCRI, and we're going to give them $10 million in tax breaks. They have to stay here and employ so many people. Humana. Cranston doesn't do that, and they're bringing in huge businesses as a city. As a state, we give. We hope they stay. It's corporate welfare. How do we rein that in?
I think we need to look more at corporate goodwill. And I'll use this example. In my district, we have a multinational, multi-billion-dollar company, FM Global. They employ over 100 well-paying jobs, very well-paying jobs in my part of the state. They are on a road that since I was elected in 2010, the DOT has been pushing up the repaving of this road every single year. It's now out to, I think, 2022 or maybe 2025. These people bring guests from all over the world to their headquarters to see the amazing things that they do up there, and they cannot get the roads paved. The town has gone after them. I've gone after them. The company, the fire departments have gone. So what I asked the governor and Peter Alviti, who was just in this studio a couple of hours ago, to do is pay attention to the western part of the state, take care of the businesses we have now that are already creating multi-millions of dollars of economic stimulation in this state, and stop trying to grab the bauble out there that can make you say, hey, I got 20 new jobs. That needs to end. Let's take care of the ones we have now.
Well, that road is, I can see
Route
it.
94,
Route
Reynolds Road.
Reynolds Road. All right. Well, listen, I'll put that in the coffers for Ask the DOT. You just missed him. He just probably pulled out when you pulled in. And also, Blake, go ahead. Blake Filippi's here as well, Representative.
So I think when you look at corporate welfare or government intervention in the marketplace, it leads to a misallocation of resources. Not only does it inhibit other investment because people think that if they don't have the inside deal, why would I come to that state? They make it so difficult to do business that the only way to make the numbers work is to get a government handout. So I think it leads to a restriction on the free market and free investment, but also there's this thing called the broken window fallacy of economics, where they can point to these shiny little things that have been done by their corporate welfare, but they don't really do an economic analysis of what could that money have done if it was retained by the people and wasn't taken out of their pocket and given to these corporations that were able to convince the Department of Commerce to give them the handout. The way you have robust, strong economic growth is through free markets, free enterprise, and not government intervention. We are inhibiting investment in this state by making it so that the only way you can make the numbers work, in many respects, is by going to the government. The government should not be involved in the free market. The government doesn't create wealth, it consumes it.
All right, we're going to take a couple of phone calls, 438-9776, 438-WPRO. But real quickly, the scooping of funds kind of goes hand in hand with this budget talk, balancing the budget. So we're balancing it on, some, I don't want to say syntaxes, but whatever. Possibly marijuana, possibly more gambling, possibly Representative Anastasia Williams with her decriminalizing prostitution. I don't know how you're going to make money off of that one. Somebody's going to make money. All of that it flies in the face of, it could happen, it might happen, it should happen, whatever. That's not a great way to balance your budget. You couldn't run a house or a company like that. nor could you keep scooping out of, say, your rent money because you want to take the kids to Disney and not pay the rent. So the scooping, how do we gain control out of that? And does that ever end?
So I think that we're setting ourselves up for a calamity in this state when we hit a recession. We are taking actions right now that you take in the trough of a recession. When you're desperate, you go and try and find money in all these quasi-publics, and you expand the sales tax because you need to balance government. If you take a step back and look at what we're doing, we are in the middle of one of the largest economic booms this country has ever seen, and we are unable to balance our budget with our current sales tax, income tax, casino tax. These are things that should be booming in a strong economy. So our government budget is growing. We don't have enough revenues, even in this strong economy, to balance it. And so we're doing things that you do when you're desperate. You go and you take money from your quasis. What happens once we've exhausted these funds and we hit a recession and income taxes, sales taxes, casino taxes all tank? How are we going to be able to balance our budget?
Because that doesn't replenish the scoops. They don't put that money back in. When it's gone, it's gone.
No.
It's like a bonus.
And
you blow your bonus, you can't keep going back for it.
We're setting ourselves up for immense pain in this state if and when we hit another recession, and we need to get our hands around our budget and have some fiscal sanity before things get worse.
And budgeting on a governmental level is all full of acronyms and terms that folks aren't familiar with, but everyone can understand this. Like when we're budgeting at home, we put aside money for anticipation. Maybe our cars break down. We have our retirement funds. Right now, again, greatest economy ever. Should I be stealing money out of my 401k to just pay my rent right now? If I am, that means something's wrong. That's what the state of Rhode Island is doing. We're stealing from our retirement account right now during the best of times just to keep our head above water. Right. That's going to tell us when that tide comes up and in the form of a bad economy, we're underwater and there's nowhere left to scoop from.
House Minority Whip Chippendale and also House Minority Leader Filippi are in studio with me on this Thursday, 4389776. John's in North Kingstown. Hi, John. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Tara. How are you this morning?
Good. Go right ahead.
First of all, I'd like to say to Mr. Chippendale and Mr. Filippi, it's nice to hear two representatives from the state of Rhode Island who actually speak intelligently and accurately about the state of affairs in Rhode Island. It's very refreshing.
Thank you, John.
But I called on another matter, and that was you were earlier talking about marijuana and how the state might handle that. Let me just say that I've been in chronic pain for many years, and my doctor said, John, why don't you try this medical marijuana? So I went through the state process, which involves an application where your physician has to write justification, et cetera. And you go to the state office, wherever it is there in Warwick, and you apply for a medical marijuana card. That's a $50 fee. So I did that. They review your information and either approve or disapprove. They approved. So I went down to get my certificate, and at that point they said, well, that'll be another $150. So I said to the nurse, I said, well, listen, how do I know this is going to work or not work? I still have to. I already gave you 50. I got to give you another 150.
Well, you don't know if you don't try. That's probably what they're going to say, John.
I know that, but $150. If I need medication at Walgreens, I don't give them $150 to try the aspirin. I buy the aspirin, I pay for it, and that's it. If it works, I don't buy it. I buy it. If it doesn't work, I don't buy it anymore. My point is,
why charge you before you know if it works? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, that and if they're already with medical marijuana, medicine is supposed to be a non-taxable purchase. They don't tax your medication in any other area in the state of Rhode Island or any state for that matter. Why are they taxing this marijuana? By the way, I got it illegally and found that it didn't work. So I didn't save $200, but I saved $150.
All right, so in the end, he did just what we said that was going to happen.
Yeah, it is.
He go around the back door, and your friend gives it to you and find out about it.
John's point is, you go to your doctor, he can go to his cupboard, give you samples of this medication to take home and try. If it works, it works. What do you do in this case? I get what he's saying. But I think the medical use of cannabis versus the recreational is where this distinction has to be drawn, because the recreational part is where they're going after the taxes, because now it's not a medicine. It is a vice that they can tax the ever-living daylights out
I'm going
of.
to take a couple quick calls on the budget because it spurred the phones to light up. Tony in Providence, just make your point real quick. Hi, Tony.
Hi, yeah, I can solve the whole problem in 5 minutes.
Psyched.
Get rid of the state police. They're killing us with their pensions.
Oh, I know, but you know what? We need them. Listen, the pension issues, city, townwide, municipal pensions, we know, big problem. We will not get rid of the Rhode Island State Police. Brian's in South Kingstown on WPRO. Hi, Brian.
Hey, good morning. I just had a quick question on the governor's budget line that she wants to tax memberships to clubs and take away exemptions for like gun clubs, etc. I don't see in there where she can stop other groups from being attacked as well, be it Masonic groups or I don't even know where the list would start and end. And on what other clubs where you pay a membership, if she's going to tax all these memberships, what kind of insight do you guys happen to have on that? How many groups you potentially could go after?
Okay, hold on, Brian. Is this part of the? I know that the new Attorney General Peter Nerona and Governor Raimondo are about to, if not, they already have. They're coming together for some new gun legislation. I don't know if that's part of it. Do you guys know anything more on that?
They're trying to pass a tax on, I think, ammunition, membership in gun clubs. And, I mean, welcome to the People's Republic of the state of Rhode Island, where we need to squeeze as much money out of you as possible, and we're going to pick things that we don't like to do it. I think it's not fair. I think you have a fundamental Second Amendment right, and I don't think the government should be taxing it.
Yeah, it's almost as if we say we're going to tax you for exercising your First Amendment right, Tara, on the radio. It's
right.
Just another way to try to get money while scoring political points against an issue that she particularly has a personal opposition to.
Yeah, and it's a tough day to talk about gun control. It's Valentine's Day. We had the situation in Florida. Yep. This is a conversation that is never going to end, never. And it's been really, really ramped up, obviously, for a variety of reasons. So we will continue that. 438-9776, 438-WPRO. We have our two state reps, House Minority Whip and House Minority Leader, Representatives Chippendale and Filippi, in studio right up until 11 o'clock. And at 11:35, karaoke time, Bublé or the Beach Boys, it's all ahead.
Rhode Island born and bred. Tara Granahan, News Talk 630 and 99.7 FM, WPRO.
Couple more minutes here with our state representatives who came in, spent a couple of hours, quality time here with the Rhode Island Republican Party. We will do it again, and I want to get your feedback on that. You can email me your thoughts, Tara at 630WPRO.com. Also, you can email me what's bugging you. Maybe we can have them come in and do a couple of what's bugging you. And we have Representative Filippi and we have Representative Chippendale, but I do want to say that I appreciate your time. Again, you get criticized for having a small Republican Party. You get criticized for certain things. You've got to do better. You've got to be more organized. You never hesitate to come in, to call in, to give me a text, to answer the phone. So my appreciation goes out to you both.
We're happy to be here, and we do sometimes get criticized, but I think in Rhode Island it's very interesting because in many other states, the Democrats we have here would be Republicans. So I think in our state, the conservative movement is strong. It just so happens that many of those conservatives are Democrats.
Well, because they're afraid if they change their letter, their affiliation, they won't get elected because we just have this historical thing, this cloud that hangs over us that you have to vote Democrat or something would happen. It's opposite now. Don't you feel like the parties have changed their identities?
From my mom's Democrat Party, yes, it has, for
the
sure.
The Republicans really are representing, I would think, the working small business people that used to be the Democrats. No?
So I see the Democratic Party shifting dramatically right now where it's turning into a corporatist, elitist party and also one of socialist tendencies of big government. And we just have to be a Republican Party that is open to welcoming in our blue dog Kennedy Democratic friends, and we have to be a place that they can call home if the Democratic Party and maybe when the Democratic Party becomes even more radicalized, which I think we're seeing. The Republican Party in this state, we're not the National Republican Party. We are a Republican Party that focuses on bread and butter economic issues. We want everyone to be able to live successfully here, raise your family here, and not to have your kids move away when you only see them on Christmas and Thanksgiving.
And Representative Chippendale, I didn't mean to cut you off. I've got about 1 minute final word.
Again, I think our focus is going to be on making Rhode Island a more livable place for us, a place we can afford to retire in, a place that our kids will want to stay, as was just pointed out. And unfortunately, right now, too many kids that I'm dealing with, and again, I have two college-age kids, They're looking at what state are we moving to next, not what town are we moving to next in Rhode Island, and that's sad.
It is. It certainly is. All right, we will have you back in. I really appreciate your time, Representative Blake Filippi and Representative Mike Chippendale. You guys are great. There's still lots of phone calls and lots of folks that want to weigh in. 438-9776. I'll discuss it. We'll say thank you to you for your time. We'll have you back in studio again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rhode
so
Island.
much.
Thank you, Tara.
All right, Bill Haberman with your headlines. Karaoke at 11:35.
WEAN FM Wakefield.